According to some, the initial goal of the new sex ed curriculum was to be more inclusive. Ironically, it seems the way we went about it created some sort of wedge. So here's my question. How can the government present a curriculum that satisfies everyone? Or with a topic that is so nuanced, is there a one-size-fits-all solution? What do you guys think? Is there a one-size-fits-all? I feel like that's a really idealistic way of thinking.
I don't think so. You can never have a solution that's going to make everybody happy, but you have to make a decision, because even not making a decision is a decision.
Were the parents taken into account when creating the sex ed curriculum?
I'm not sure. Probably on some maybe minor level. I'm not sure.
Some parents probably wrote it. So, I think that there's definitely some parents taken into account, and some parents have difference of opinion. So,
here's my thing it is a challenge, but how do we find that happy medium?
You can't. You can't, because I think...
So one side wins, one side doesn't.
Well, that's inevitably what's going to happen with this, is one side is going to win, and the inclusive side obviously won, and there's people that have problems with that, and that's fine. They're allowed to. I think I'm going to go back to one of the very first points I made. We have to read and understand what is being taught, and you have to be willing as a parent to get involved. You can't just get involved when something bad happens all the time.
But why is it up to the parent when we're talking about inclusivity versus, not being inclusive? Like, why should the parent have to pull their kid out of that program? Instead, why doesn't the parent on the inclusive side just teach their kid those things instead,
because
rather than them putting it in the education system?
They're not going to. They're not going to, and I'm going to tell you why. My parents are pretty progressive, and if you even mentioned a body part or something, they'd cover their ears. They never had a talk. How many people actually know what their sex ed talk was, or their sex talk with their parents was? Mine was keep your zipper up. Don't quite know what that means. So do you want sex ed in the hands of my parents? They're going to kill me when they see this episode. I don't. I'd rather put it in the hands of somebody else.
But again, that's your experience. It's not the overall, because I had parents where that was a conversation that was very comfortable and very okay to have. Yeah. So then we're trying to account for all of the parents.
So whether or not the government and the state took into account parent, should they have?
They definitely should have. But I think at the end of the day, from an actionable standpoint, parents have to understand on both sides. Kids are seeing a bunch of stuff on TikTok, Instagram, the internet. God knows what's happening at school, the news, whatever. Kids are hearing all this stuff. So it's more important now than ever for you to have conversations with your kid. And whatever values you want to impart, this is your opportunity to do so. And it might be uncomfortable, but this is what you have to do going forward. You have to take control of the situation.
I feel like where the debate is heavily with these parents fighting against each other is, not talking about, the basics of procreation. It's the moral and values that they're not aligning with when it comes to talking about trans, or, when it comes to just overall talking about sexual identity and changing that and changing your name and all these kind of things. Like, it just feels like that's where the tension is. So why not go back to the basics? And then parents can teach, children, if they are exploring being trans or not feeling like they're not feeling their gender.
The basics have always been there. This is the basics evolving because it's evolved. Because when I was in school, you didn't learn anything that had anything to do with LGBTQIA, none of that stuff. I went to Catholic school, and they do teach this at Catholic school now, but they didn't teach that back then. We had a book, Fully Alive. You learned the basic parts. Sex was procreation, was spiritual. It was two people in love. And that's fine to teach.
So on that note, one of the things that I've noticed about the curriculum, and even on both sides, they've admitted this, teachers have a lot of leeway with what it is that they teach. And yes, that's similar to other curriculums, like maybe math or English. But should it be the same way for sex education? Something that's way more sensitive.
It's going to be impossible to control it. Like, it's idealistic, right? We're going to have teachers who go in there and preach political views and whatever else, right? In any situation. So I think
or ask leading questions, or like.
I know. I've met parents now that will speak to their children's teacher and be like, "What are you teaching them with regards to sex ed?" And they'll pull them from the classroom. They'll do whatever they need to do now. Like, it's that serious to them. So I think it's, once again, it's like a case-by-case basis. It's really hard to find like a blanket solution.
Yeah. So rather than protesting the curriculum, should we maybe just be, as parents taking on more responsibility? Like, you made an interesting point. It's up to the parents.
I think so on both sides. Because even the parents that are for the curriculum and the parents that are not for the curriculum, those are still, who's protesting? The parents. It's the parents who want to understand what's going on with their kids, whether they agree or don't agree. They should definitely have a say and understand, like Anthony said, read the curriculum, understand the curriculum. And if you want to pull your kid, maybe there could be, the school could make a teach sheet for the parent for what was taught that day. You
That's
can
valid.
explain it yourself.
Trinity, we're going to jump into the next one. When we come back, we'll talk about the parents. Do they know what's actually best? Let's continue the conversation.